Around the world, chaos unfolds as civilians erupt in anger, clashing with governments and sparking riots. These disturbing scenes are deliberately shown to a chimpanzee trapped alone in a room, hinting at a secret experiment taking place behind closed doors. One day, activists from the Animal Liberation Organization, wearing masks, sneak into the facility to free the caged chimpanzees. Upon entering, they're horrified to discover the experiments being conducted on one of the chimps. A scientist soon arrives and quickly attempts to call for security, but one of the intruders cuts the phone line. The scientist admits he knows why they're there, but he warns them. The chimpanzees have been infected with a dangerous virus. When asked what kind of virus, he explains it's something called the rage virus. The intruders are confused and skeptical, even after being warned that the virus spreads through blood, saliva, and bites. Despite the warnings, one of them opens a cage. The freed chimpanzee immediately attacks and bites an intruder. Moments later, the infected woman vomits blood onto his friend, who also becomes infected. Both quickly transform into enraged, zombie-like beings, attacking everyone around them. Chaos erupts as the other chimps shriek in frenzy, and finally, the scientist and another intruder are killed in the outbreak. Cut to 28 days later, a man named Jim wakes up alone in a hospital room, disoriented and completely naked. Confused and alarmed by the mess around him, he calls out for help, but no one answers. The silence grows more unsettling when he ventures outside and finds the city, normally bustling with life, completely deserted. He then tries to use a public phone, but the network is dead. Feeling hungry and thirsty, Jim takes some scattered food and drinks from the floor and puts them all in a plastic bag to carry. He then goes outside the hospital, and again, the situation is completely quiet. Even in a street known for being busy in the heart of London, England, the situation is totally empty. Not a single person is seen by Jim. This makes Jim very confused, so he keeps shouting while wondering what exactly has happened. After walking continuously through the city, Jim finds a car in the middle of the road. He tries to check it and gets shocked when the car sets off its alarm. He then finds a newspaper that reports a mass evacuation of all citizens and riots caused by civilians, leading to global chaos. He also finds many papers about missing persons, which makes Jim think that a massive incident has happened before, something he still doesn't understand. Jim then goes to a church, where he finds many dead bodies inside. So he tries to call someone and gets shocked when two people suddenly respond to his call. Not long after that, Jim hears the sound of a door being forced open, and the door opens a few moments later with a man entering. Jim is confused by the man's strange behavior, like he wants to attack him, walking closer just like a zombie. So Jim is forced to hit the man before he escapes from the church. At that moment, many zombies chase Jim, which makes him panic. Some moments later, Jim arrives at a gas station, where a Molotov cocktail is thrown by two people, who turn out to be survivors, telling Jim to come to them. When the zombies get close to the gas station, the survivors activate some trigger devices to blow it up. So they activate it, and finally, the zombies in the gas station are destroyed. After running for a while, they arrive at a mini-market, where Jim meets the survivors named Selena and Mark. Jim explains that he is a bike courier who had been delivering a package before a car hit him. Then the next thing he remembers is waking up in the hospital after surgery, and he suspects that he has been hallucinating when seeing how quiet the situation is. Selena then explains the zombie virus incident that she and her friend know about, saying the virus was first known to spread in a small village and then into markets. When the government tried to evacuate the city, they were already too late because the zombie virus had spread rapidly in all directions. As a result, the army's blockade was overwhelmed by panicked people. Selena adds that one day before the TV and radio stopped broadcasting, there were reports of infections also happening in Paris, France, and in New York, United States. After that, they never heard anything again. Jim then asks what the government has done, to which they respond that there's no such thing as a government anymore, and Jim is the first healthy person they've seen in 6 days. They also admit their families have already died, and they assume Jim's family must be gone too. Jim doesn't believe it and insists on visiting his parents' house, so Selena and Mark take him there the next day. When they arrive, Jim smells a foul odor upstairs in his parents' bedroom, where he finds both of his parents already dead from intentional poisoning while holding a photo of young Jim. As a result, Jim feels heartbroken, but Selena tells him to be grateful that his parents died peacefully, which Jim refuses to accept. Seeing that it's already night, they decide to stay there for the night. But when Selena and Mark are asleep, Jim seems unable to sleep and wants to remember the times with his parents while lighting a candle. Suddenly, someone sees Jim's candle, so that person runs toward him. It turns out to be a zombie, bringing another zombie along. Selena and Mark immediately help Jim until they manage to kill both zombies. Selena instantly asks whether Jim got bitten, and he answers no. Then Selena asks whether any zombie blood got into his eyes or mouth, and he says no again. But it's not the same for Mark, whose arm got bitten. So Selena immediately slashes him several times, and finally, Mark dies. Selena then tells Jim to leave right away because she knows more zombies will come. Feeling confused about why Selena killed her own friend, Jim asks how she knows he was infected. Selena answers that Mark will turn into a zombie after being bitten, and if someone is infected, there are about 10 to 20 seconds to kill them before they transform into a zombie. As they continue walking, they see blinking lights from an apartment as a sign that someone is doing a self-lockdown. So they decide to go there. Inside, there are piles of shopping carts, so they use them to climb up to the emergency stairwell. After some time of climbing the stairs, Jim complains that he is tired, which makes Selena realize that Jim has no body fat and only eats sugar, causing his blood sugar to spike. Not long after, they hear the sound of zombies who have discovered their location. So they run upstairs until Jim notices that Selena is getting farther away from him. Moments later, they meet a man with a shield, who immediately tells them to enter a hallway while he fights off the incoming zombies by himself. After all the zombies are taken down, a girl opens the door to her unit for Jim and Selena, and finally, both of them are safe for a while. The man introduces himself as Frank, and the girl is his daughter, Hannah, before they celebrate Jim and Selena's arrival with a good drink. After turning off the blinking lights, Frank apologizes because the place cannot waste water when Jim shaves his beard, as the water supply is limited. This is because the water pressure was lost 3 weeks ago, and all the other units have run out of water too. So Frank uses many buckets to collect rainwater. But unfortunately, all the buckets are already empty, since it hasn't rained in the past 10 days. Even trying to collect using plastic doesn't work. Because of that, Frank thinks they cannot stay there forever, so he tries to find help using his radio device. Moments later, they hear a voice from the military claiming they have rescued many people and that a cure for the zombie virus has been found. The voice also tells survivors to go to their base. However, Frank says it's just a repeated recording, and to reach the military base, it would take 2 to 3 days. Selena suspects that the soldiers might already be dead, and she doesn't believe there is really a cure for the zombie virus because the virus has already caused too much damage. But Frank disagrees, because he thinks it's better to try going than to keep waiting at the same place. His daughter agrees with him, and finally, they decide to go to the military base using Frank's car. Sometime later, they arrive at the entrance of a tunnel road, which Selena thinks is the fastest route. However, Jim suggests they take a brighter route, not a dark underground path. In the end, they choose to take the tunnel road, where there are several corpses and a pile of cars blocks their way. Without hesitation, Frank hits the gas and drives over the pile of cars, which he and his daughter enjoy until they reach the other side. But as a result, the front tire gets damaged, so they quickly change it in the middle of the tunnel. At that moment, they hear some sounds behind them, followed by rats running toward them. Selena strongly suspects the distant sounds come from zombies and that the rats are fleeing from them. So they quickly finish changing the tire. Once the tire is replaced, they immediately get into the car, just as the zombies arrive from behind. Luckily, they manage to escape the zombies, and they are safe again for now. During the trip, they see a supermarket, so they decide to go in and stock up on supplies, especially the food they like, completely for free. After happily taking a lot of items, they continue the journey until they arrive at a place with a fuel truck to get gasoline for the car. While waiting, Jim sees a burger inside a restaurant that he wants to take. So he enters, but instead of finding a burger, he sees the corpse of a dead baby still held by the mother, and he also encounters a zombie child. Since the zombie threatens his life, Jim is forced to take it down, then walks out with a feeling of guilt. After collecting the fuel, they continue the journey along an empty highway until they arrive at a field with a stone building. There, they decide to take a break, like a vacation in the middle of a zombie apocalypse. They choose to spend the night inside the stone building, and the next day, Jim wakes up alone, feeling scared that his 3 friends have left him. But thankfully, it turns out to be just a nightmare. They continue the trip and finally arrive in a city where the military base is located. But they see that fires are burning across the city. When they arrive at the base, they are confused to see the base completely empty, so they try to investigate the area. Selena thinks they should leave, but Frank disagrees and becomes upset that all their efforts seem wasted. He then sits down to calm himself, and at that moment, he sees a crow standing on a zombie corpse. This disturbs Frank, so he kicks a door underneath the crow, which causes a drop of blood from the zombie to fall into Frank's eye. Soon after, his daughter arrives. So before Frank transforms, he tells her how much he loves her, and then he turns into a zombie. When Jim and Selena realize what happened, Selena tells Jim to take him down. But just before Jim can do it, some soldiers shoot zombie Frank first, and finally, he dies. After that, the soldiers take Jim and the others to another nearby military base, which turns out to be a large house led by a soldier named Henry. After they settle in, Jim meets Henry, who already knows they were disappointed to see the first base abandoned. But Henry assures him that the cure for the zombie infection is here, and he gives Jim a tour around the house, especially the minefields in the open field. Besides protecting the place, their duty is to rebuild human civilization and also study the zombie virus, shown by a chained soldier who has already turned into a zombie. Henry tells them that the soldier was infected 2 days ago, and he wants to study what the zombie can teach, including how long a zombie can survive without food. As a welcome gesture, the soldiers hold a dinner party. But during dinner, Henry gets annoyed because the food cooked by the chef tastes bad. He then talks about the first time he saw zombies 4 weeks ago, and he says it wasn't so different from what happened before the zombie virus struck, with people always taking each other's lives. Not long after, a landmine explodes outside the house, a sign that zombies have started attacking the base, so the soldiers quickly shoot them from a distance. After the situation calms down, the soldiers approach Selena and start messing around by taking her machete. Soon after, one of the soldiers, let's call him John, becomes unhappy with what is happening. So he forcefully stops it right before Henry comes in to break up the commotion. He then invites Jim to drink in his private room, where Jim starts to feel uncertain about staying there after seeing the strange behavior of the soldiers. Because of that, Henry reveals that he has promised women to his men, since one of them took his own life 8 days ago, believing that humanity has no future. Even if they fight the zombies or wait until they die of starvation, Henry believes the men still have no future because they are at risk of not having any descendants without women around. That is why women are important for the future of humanity, and now is the perfect moment with Selena and Hannah being there. As a result, Henry's hidden agenda is revealed, which makes Jim immediately run to tell Selena and Hannah to leave the place as fast as they can. But just before they can escape the house, Jim is knocked unconscious by one of the soldiers who has been hiding. When Jim wakes up, he sees John threatening to shoot his fellow soldiers if they get closer to the women. Unfortunately, his attempt fails as he is restrained by the soldiers. Jim and John are then locked in a room, where John protests to their commander, Henry, who he says has gone mad for wanting to rebuild the world when the chaos hasn't even ended. Sometime later, 2 soldiers take them into a forest until they arrive at a place filled with zombie corpses, which means they are about to be executed. After John keeps provoking the soldiers, one of them shoots him dead, which causes the other soldier to scold him because he is supposed to be the one to do it. Right after that, they see Jim is gone, as he has managed to escape from the soldiers. While he runs away, Jim sees a jet plane flying overhead, a sign that there are other forces out there trying to save survivors. Meanwhile, Selena and Hannah are being forced to change into dresses that have already been prepared. But a few moments later, an alarm starts to ring, and the soldiers realize it is Jim's doing at the roadblock section of the base, trying to lure zombies. So, 2 soldiers are sent to capture him, with Jim hiding constantly until he manages to kill one of the soldiers. When the remaining soldier sees his friend has been killed, a group of zombies has already arrived. So he shoots them all and decides to return to the base. Night falls, and Jim has reached the room where Henry's infected subordinate is held, and he thinks of freeing the zombie to create chaos at the base. Soon after, the zombie attacks one of the soldiers, and chaos erupts in the base, giving Selena and Hannah a chance to escape. One by one, the soldiers either turn into zombies or get killed, with Jim taking out the soldiers he encounters. Sometime later, Jim finally manages to rescue Selena and Hannah before they flee to their car. But it turns out Henry is already inside, and Jim is shot. With Hannah driving, she immediately reverses the car back to the house, where a zombie runs toward them and manages to drag Henry out of the car. In the end, Jim and the others escape the base, and finally, Henry is killed by his own zombie subordinate. Jim is then taken to the nearest hospital to treat his wounds, and 28 days later, he has recovered and wakes up in a house. At that moment, another jet plane flies across the hills, watched by a few zombies who are already dying from starvation. Not long after Jim meets Selena, who is sewing, Hannah comes and says she hears a jet plane approaching. The movie ends with Jim and the others having prepared a large cloth with the word "hello" so it can be seen by the pilot flying toward their house, and finally, they are rescued from the zombie apocalypse in England. Make sure to subscribe and turn on notification so you don't miss the latest recaps. Thanks for watching and wish you good health.